Coming up, HammerCon. The first convention of the MCPA is now history. This is part one of a two-part series on the conference. Details coming up.
You're watching the MilCyberSync Weekly News with your host, Nick Thomas, and news anchor, Layla Gulen.
Hello, and welcome to the MilCyberSync Podcast, reporting on the latest events happening in cyber news. Layla's taking a little break this week. I'm your host, Nick Thomas. And if you like what you hear, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite streaming service, as well as our YouTube channel. We sincerely appreciate it. And now, the big event has happened. Military cyber professionals, academia, and students recently converged on the Capital Technology University campus in Laurel, Maryland, for the first ever national convention of the Military Cyber Professionals Association known as HammerCon. Hundreds of attendees, speakers, and exhibitors took part in the one-day event that was filled with cyber topics such as malicious trends, ICS SCADA, metaverse, cyber defense research, military cyber career fields, and so much more. Attendees were greeted by the smiling faces of volunteers and given a momentous MCPA bag filled with swag and two very important magazines. The first of which is the scholarly journal of the Military Cyber Professional Association titled Military Cyber Affairs HammerCon 2022 Special Issue. This special issue contains documentation supporting the talks conducted during the academic tracks. The special edition of Cyber Magazine includes updated chapter activities, articles from the conference, as well as extremely well-written cyber articles. There was even a complimentary barista and refreshments on hand to get the morning rolling. And by lunchtime, the Mission Barbecue truck came rolling in with their famous brisket and sides. Even though the line was long, no one went hungry. This 2-year-in-the-making con was hosted by the Military Cyber Professional Association through a partnership with Capital Technology University and supported by multiple sponsors. The Maryland Innovation and Security Institute, also known as MISSI, and the Navy Cyber Warfare Engineer Society were just some of the public-private partnership organizations in attendance. They provided hands-on ICS SCADA models to show attendees vulnerabilities and potential hacks and hardening tricks. The open organization of lockpickers were on hand to man the Lockpick Village. This group of lockpicking enthusiasts are dedicated to advancing the general public knowledge about locks and lockpicking through teaching, research, and competition. There was a lot of traffic in the lockpicking village. Another village in the con was the IoT Village. They were on hand conducting interactive hacking labs and live bug hunting in the latest IoT tech, and there was also a Capture the Flag competition. You can learn more about the IoT Village at iotvillage.org. I recently caught up with Jose Fernandez of CompSec Direct, one of the many exhibitors in attendance. Here's what he had to say about the conference.
Hi, I'm Jose Fernandez, President, CompSec Direct. We're a small, service-disabled owned veteran company with offices in Maryland and Puerto Rico. We had the pleasure to be able to attend and sponsor HammerCon. This was the first time this event was held, and I must say it was a great success. I'm really excited to reconnect with peers from my industry, and I'm extremely ecstatic and hopeful that the event can repeat itself next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. And yes, the event will be repeating itself as we are already in the planning mode for next year. We've got more to come. HammerCon Keynote Speaker highlights after the break.
Today's network and security monitoring solutions are vulnerable to overload situations that lead to decreased visibility and undetected intrusions. Monitoring applications require hardware to keep up with real-time traffic analysis, making it complex and costly. Your security monitoring solutions may be unable to keep up during cyber attacks or traffic spikes, making intrusion more likely. A new approach is needed to increase network protection and visibility. Excelio simplifies and streamlines your network monitoring, critical security, network, and application analysis. Learn more at excelio.com.
Welcome back. The inaugural theme was You've Got to Beat All of Us to Beat One of Us, an approach inspired by Chris Inglis, the inaugural National Cyber Director. Inglis, one of many keynote speakers, talked about greater coherence, greater collaboration, and greater resilience by design so that we can get to that vision and how we need to turn all of that into practice. He talked about roles and responsibilities and how important they are, because if you get those wrong, then your cyberspace is probably not defensible or well defended. Here's a brief word from Mr. Inglis as he discusses adversary thought.
I would observe that when an adversary thinks about those three dimensions, technology, people, and doctrine, they typically do it in the reverse order. They will first consider whether your roles and responsibilities are appropriate or whether they're being properly executed. They'll second consider whether your people are up to the game, whether your people's skills, complacency, or perhaps a lack of training standing in, or a soft underbelly that they can take advantage of. And finally, if they have to, they'll take advantage of flaws in technology. But there's so many rich opportunities today in poor doctrine and poor people skills that we almost never see them have to turn to technology as their first court of resort. We need to reverse that trend, make it such that, again, we have to be a harder target. They got to beat all of us to beat one of us.
Thanks, Mr. Inglis. And if you would like to watch the complete video, feel free to visit our YouTube site. Attendees also heard from Jeff Moss, founder of the Black Hat and DEF CON hacker conferences. Moss stated that we're entering a new world, mostly driven by the accelerated change of the Russian invasion, as well as companies, groups, and individuals that have influence. Jeff discussed there's an increased awareness or desire for public-private strategic partnership between the government and the private sector. This is due to global problems and internet problems being related. You can't solve one without the other, and you can't solve it at the government level without the public partnership. Let's listen as he discusses open source intel.
We are in the golden age of open source intelligence. I mean, just look at the work that Bellingcat is doing in Ukraine, revealing Russian war crimes. What it's discovered is certified to be used in the UN. So that can make your job harder, make your job easier. There's other organizations like Bellingcat, organizations like Citizen Lab out of Ontario, where they're doing research against NSO and other embedded spyware, but they're really telling a story about what's going on behind the curtains, who the power players are, their CNC infrastructure, what tools they're using. This is going to be really useful to you. You have to be aware of this new community of operators in your space.
Thanks, Jeff. If you'd like to hear more from Jeff Moss, his video is also available on our YouTube channel, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We now move on to Brigadier General Paul Kraft. General Kraft is the Chief of Cyber for the Army and an MCPA member and advisor. General Kraft educated the crowd on Army cyber and growth. This was an exciting talk, not only for service members, but also for parties interested in joining the Army cyber ranks. Let's take a listen.
As a branch, we started off with just 32 students in our classrooms. Today, 7 years later, we don't have 32 students in one classroom anymore. We now have over 3,500 graduates every single year. And today, across 34 different courses that we now have at Fort Gordon, we have a daily student load of about 900 students. As a branch, we are spread across all the components. We have active duty, we have reserve, and we have National Guard. The total size of the force is in the military, in uniform, is about 5,500 plus personnel. And over the next couple years, through about 2028, we have approved growth all the way up to 7,500. So we are continuing to grow as a service.
Thank you, General. This video, again, is also available in full on our YouTube channel. Well, that's all for part one. Tune in next week as we review speakers and their topics. Thank you for watching. You're now in sync with MilCyberSync. We'll see you next week.